Hi everyone, it's Dr. Scott. This screencast is about an important issue for the upcoming essay, the discourse analysis. I want to talk about ways that you could compare important features of an academic or scholarly source. I use those terms interchangeably. An academic or scholarly source, they kind of mean the same thing in my book. So the screencast is going to walk you through 6 ways of looking at academic sources that I think could generate some ideas for the upcoming essay. There's definitely more that you could use. If you'd like to talk about additional ways to compare academic articles, I'd be willing to chat with you through office hours or over email. But I think that you can come up with ideas of your own. I'm giving you the screencast to maybe help you generate some ideas if you're feeling a little bit stuck. So what I had in mind were 6 what I'm calling important issues to take a look at in an academic article, because in your comparison, you're not comparing what the writers are talking about. The content is not the key issue for the upcoming essay. It's what are the structural similarities? What are the kind of bigger issues that are similar or very different in the academic articles that you're going to take a look at for the discourse analysis? So I'm going to walk through structure and organization, writing style, methods, use of data, the presentation of data, and the way that the article uses graphics and visual design. Let's start with structure and organization. So a few ideas to think about are how are the ideas sequenced? How are they organized or grouped together in your article? And so I think understanding in your discipline what are ways that writers typically present information in writing, I think it's a really useful thing to know, and that's why I like us doing this assignment first. So knowing what kind of structures are out there that are used in your discipline, I think it's really helpful, and I hope that by the time you finish this assignment, you become familiar with some of those organization structures. One is called IMRAD. It stands for Introduction, Methods, Results, Analysis, and Discussion. And I'll show you an example really quickly of an IMRAD article. This is an article that I found in the A to Z list of research databases under H for healthcare. I think was one of the databases that I found this article in. In IMRAD, it doesn't necessarily have everything like the introduction. They call it background. They'll have different words for it, but it's a pattern in the sciences that is kind of tried and tested, and folks use it all the time. The introduction sets up the articles. Sometimes there is a literature review, so people will take a look at all the research that's come before their project, summarize that, and then say, given all this literature that's out there, here's where our project is at. Methods, that's how they go about collecting their data. What are the is it a quantitative analysis where they're taking a look at like survey designs, or are they doing testing blood samples? Are they interviewing people? How are they collecting that data? The results, that's what they found in the data. And then conclusions, sometimes it's called the results, or I'm sorry, not results, but the discussion section or the implication section. That's saying, based on what we saw in the results, here's what we think of it. It's an attempt to interpret the data that they collected. This is a structure that you'll see in the sciences, in the health sciences, in athletic training. A lot of different disciplines use this IMRAD design. Even in my own discipline, which is more influenced by social sciences, we use IMRAD design for projects, and I've written IMRAD studies. So it's a very familiar approach, but there are others that are out there. There's folks that do more literature review projects where they will just summarize the research that other folks have found, but sometimes they'll talk about their methods of doing that. So this is just one example of how folks structure a study. You can see that structure here in the abstract. In the abstract, what that is it's a quick overview of what the entire article is going to do. Keep scrolling down here, you have the background section, and then you have the methods section, all the different ways that they collected their data, the results. So it gets really kind of into the weeds here. They had 10,000 people complete. They looked at 10,000 records. So it's a lot of data that they were looking at. So keep going, they have more graphics and things like that. So that's one example of, that's one study in health sciences that that you could take a look at. That's one way to structure an essay. If the articles that you're looking at, if they don't follow that MRAD design, maybe they have a different design, or even within an MRAD design, there might be interesting things that the articles are doing that are a little bit different than each other, or maybe you find some similarities. One way to kind of find out, or to take a deeper look at that structure, is to do what's called a reverse outline. So you take an article, and I'll put up that article that we just had up just a second ago, and you go through the text of the document, and you write in the corner measures of research use. Like this paragraph, you'll write a little note, this is what's going on in this paragraph. So they're talking about the 5-point scale here in this paragraph and what that means. So you write that over there in the margin. And then you go to the next paragraph and you say, what is this paragraph trying to do? And you write a little note over here in the margin. That outline, that reverse outline, so something's already written and you're kind of outlining it afterwards, that can help you. If you kind of list those out on a piece of paper, you kind of see what the structure of the entire essay is, and that might be helpful in the upcoming review, to take a look at the different ways that outline might look over 2 or 3 different articles. As I said before, your task for this upcoming assignment is not to take a look at the content. You're welcome to search in your databases. You're welcome to search articles that are dealing with one specific issue, something that you're really interested in, whatever discipline that you're in. That's absolutely fine. But the content is not what's important for this assignment. It's important to know what the structure and the organization and some of the issues that I'm going to be talking about later in the screencast. Another issue to take a look at is writing style. Do the writers distance themselves? Do they use the word I, or are they kind of cold, and like they might, if they're referring to the researchers, they might just say researchers. They won't say I. Do they use really technical language or jargon? I think the article that we just looked at, they definitely do that. Do they make any effort to kind of explain that data to people that may not be experts? Do the writers appeal to emotion? Do they tell a story or a narrative of their research? I've had folks that have written articles that have been published that will begin an article with an anecdote of something that happened in their life, and then they transition from that into their study, their research project, and that can be a way to persuade people to stay more engaged in the article. That happens in some research. It doesn't happen in a lot of research, but do the writers appeal to emotion at all? Sometimes you'll see that in the introduction, sometimes you'll see that in the conclusion, where researchers are trying to say this is important information for us to think about, and it has implications if we don't act upon it.